What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Doctor Who ranking video. Today I'm going to be ranking the Regeneration stories. Now I only have 7 stories on this list. You're probably thinking there's like 13, technically 14, technically 15 Doctors now if you count the War Doctor and the second 10th Doctor, but I've only got 9 stories. Why is that? Well, there's a couple that don't count for this list. Basically the rules for this are the Doctor has to regenerate at the end of the story, so Time in the Rani and the TV movie will not be on this list as the Doctor regenerates pretty much at the start of the story, calling those a post-regeneration story. So when I eventually do my post-regeneration stories, which will basically be the first story after the Doctor's regenerated, those will be on that list instead of this list. Even though the regeneration happens in the episode, it happens at the start and we see what happens afterwards. So that's how that's going to work. But anyway, let's get started with the ranking. Number 9. Logopolis. This is the 4th Doctor's regeneration story. Now, considering the 4th Doctor is still to this point in time, the longest running actor to ever play the role is Tom Baker as the 4th Doctor, so he's technically the longest running Doctor on screen. Considering that, this really wasn't the thing for him to go out on. Now, I don't think Logopolis is terrible. I don't think any of the regeneration stories are terrible, but this one personally for me just doesn't really cut it. It feels more like a Peter Davison story for, stuff that was to come, and not a Tom Baker story. I really don't think it was the tone for a Tom Baker story. The story feels a bit slow. It's a bit kind of all over the place with, the whole kind of mathsy stuff on Logopolis with the weird Logopolis people, and you've got the Master in there as well acting a bit weird and doing some stuff. It's just a story that I think is a bit too all over the place, and it's not a triumphant enough send off to Tom Baker and the 4th Doctor in my personal opinion. I know some people really love this one. Personally for me, it's not really my thing. Number 8. Twice Upon a Time. This is the 12th Doctor's regeneration story, actually the most recent regeneration story from Peter Capaldi regenerating into the 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker. Now, on first viewing I really enjoyed Twice Upon a Time. I just thought it was a bit different, it was a nice, bit of fresh air, and I quite enjoyed it. However, I've only watched this one twice so far. On second viewing, I wasn't as big of a fan. I'm going to get around to watching it again once I get to that point in my current new series marathon, but yeah, I was just really underwhelmed with it the second time. I felt like there wasn't really much of a story. It kind of felt like, oh, we're going to bring in this character, and oh, he's a relative of the Brigadier. It kind of felt, it was nice, but it felt a little bit forced. And altogether, the first Doctor was good, but he wasn't portrayed, I think, that well in a lot of ways. It's a fun little story, but story-wise, with plot and everything, it's really not very good. There's some good stuff in there, like, the game of soccer at the end, the game of football at the end with all the people, with all the soldiers. That's cool, but the story itself, I think, is a little lackluster. Number 7. The Time of the Doctor. This is the 11th Doctor's regeneration story. This was actually just before recording this. This was actually in the number 8 spot. I did have Twice Upon a Time above this. But even though I haven't watched either of these on my current marathon again, I have seen Time of the Doctor probably once more at least than Twice Upon a Time. And, although I really can't get my words out, although I do think there's a lot wrong with Time of the Doctor. I don't like the Daleks with the eyes out of their foreheads. The general kind of thing of it is a bit kind of crap. It's just the Doctor defending this planet, and I don't know, it feels a bit meaningless and silly, and there is, some silly stuff going on. I can at least find enjoyment out of this one. I can find enjoyment out of Twice Upon a Time and Logopolis as well, but this one in another way. It's quite action-packed, there's quite a lot going on. There's definitely some good stuff here. I like what they do with giving him new regenerations and stuff. It's just, I think, once again, like Twice Upon a Time mainly, the plot really isn't that great. Number 6. Planet of the Spiders. This is the 3rd Doctor's regeneration story. This one I found to be decent enough. To be honest, these bottom 4 kind of all sit in a fairly similar sort of pool. For instance, I haven't actually rated The Time of the Doctor and Twice Upon a Time yet, as I haven't got around to rewatching them yet, but Planet of the Spiders and Logopolis, I give Logopolis a 6 out of 10, I give Planet of the Spiders a 6.5, so you can kind of, tell that Twice Upon a Time and The Time of the Doctor are going to be in there as well, so this whole bottom 4 is very close. But yeah, Planet of the Spiders, I thought it was a bit too long, 6 parts. I do think it dragged quite a bit. The spiders were cool, but a little bit weird, especially with the voices and just the way they acted and stuff. Main thing was, though, I thought this one was quite slow. it was a decent end for John Pertwee as the third Doctor, I will say, but I don't think it was quite as good as I would have hoped, and it is currently my least favourite John Pertwee story, so yeah, it's watchable, it's decent, but I think the main thing is it is a little bit too long. Number 5. The End of Time. This is the 10th Doctor's regeneration story. If you guys don't know, the 10th Doctor is my favourite Doctor, always has been, probably always will be. Now I do feel like his regeneration story is a little bit underwhelming. Don't get me wrong, it is a big thing. Unlike some of the previous ones on this list, you know, me saying they don't really feel like they are like monumental enough for that Doctor, this one I think does. You've got the Master, and you've got the return of Gallifrey, and the kind of the return of Gallifrey, and the return of the Time Lords at least. So it is definitely a big monumental thing for this Doctor, and I think that works perfectly fine. The stuff with the Master, with his kind of flickering head and the fact that he's a superhuman kind of skeleton monster, I find a little bit weird and silly, but I still do have a lot of fun with this story, and personally for me, because I am a fan of the 10th Doctor and Russell T Davies' whole era, I really like the kind of callbacks and the, you know, looking back at all the companions and stuff. Yeah, it's a little bit, oh look at me, but because I really enjoy that era, I do enjoy that. Number 4. The 10th Planet. This is the first Doctor's regeneration story, the first ever regeneration story. There is quite a big jump of, you know, how much I like them between the End of Time and 10th Planet. So we're getting into the ones that I really like now. The End of Time, the 10th Planet, sorry, is such a brilliant story. The first ever regeneration story, the first ever Cyberman story. It's just a really exciting, great story. Let down a little bit by the Cybermen not doing a whole lot in this story, kind of being focused to one little area and not a lot more. Also, the Doctor not being present for episode 3 at all was a little bit disappointing, but I think that it was still done well. And of course, that wasn't supposed to happen. That was because William Hartnell came down sick in that, you know, recording slot. But yeah, all in all, I have a lot of fun watching the 10th Planet. I mean, I've only seen it once so far, but I can't wait to getting around to watching it again. Such a great story, such a great introduction to the Cybermen, and I love the Mondasian Cybermen, so yeah, it's just really good. Number 3. The War Games. This is the second Doctor's regeneration story. If we're talking about monumental regeneration stories, you know, a regeneration story has to kind of celebrate that Doctor and be a big thing. It really does. And I mean, well, this story is definitely that. It's a 10-part epic. 10 parts, which I was a little bit concerned about because I was thinking, oh god, a 10-parter, I usually get bored in 6-parters, but no, I didn't get bored throughout this whole 10-parter. It is so good. The pace just keeps on going, it just keeps on rolling. The story keeps getting better, it's just exciting. There's so many different things going on, but it all comes together really well. I love the War Games, I can't wait to watch it again. Like I said, it is a bit of a thing to get through. It's not a slog though, I can get through it quite easily and, you know, not be bored. I probably wouldn't recommend watching all 10 episodes at once. I did 5 and 5 over like 2 days, but yeah, the War Games, it's definitely a monumental story for the second Doctor, that is for sure. Number 2. Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways. This is the 9th Doctor's regeneration story, which also means it's the first regeneration story of the modern series of New Who. This one I think is by far the best current new series regeneration story. Although I like End of Time and it's with my favourite Doctor, this one is with probably my second or third favourite Doctor, and it's turning, he's regenerating into my favourite Doctor, but just the regeneration itself, just the story itself is so good. Yes, Bad Wolf has kind of aged not too great with the whole, you know, Big Brother and Weakest Link and all these things. It's not aged that well. It feels like it's very much stuck in 2005, but well, the early 2000s in general, I guess, but I can still find a hell of a lot of enjoyment out of it. But the Parting of the Ways makes up for that anyway, because the Parting of the Ways is brilliant. It's a 10 out of 10 story, no doubt about it. I love it so much. The Daleks are at probably their most menacing that they've been in the new series here. Just really good stuff all around with this one. Number 1. The Caves of Androzani. This is the 5th Doctor's regeneration story, and it's largely regarded as the best regeneration story, and actually as one of the best Doctor Who stories of all time. It is an absolute classic, there's no doubt about it. I think one of the main reasons this one really is highly regarded is because the stuff it's kind of sitting around. I mean, you've got, what is it, Planet of Fire before this, which I haven't actually seen yet, but from what I've heard, it's not the most amazing regarded story. And then you've got the twin dilemma on the other end, which we don't even need to talk about that. Once again, haven't seen it, but kind of speaks for itself. And then you've just got this absolute gem in the middle. It's a perfect story. And I think one of the main things about this one is Peter Davison by far gives his best performance in this story. It's kind of sad that it took until his last story for him to really get good as the Doctor, because he was very kind of flat and not that interesting for a lot of his stuff. But in this one, he honestly gives one of the best performances of any Doctor I've ever seen, and it's just such a captivating, well-paced, fast-paced, exciting story. I really do love the Caves of Androzani. So that is my ranking of the current 9 Regeneration stories. What are your thoughts on these? What are your, what is your top 5? What is your ranking of all 9? Remember that this was my opinion, so please do respect that. I respect your opinion as well. If your list is completely flipped to mine, then I don't have an issue with that. That's your opinion. I don't agree with it, but that is your opinion, and I'm not going to hold you hostage because of it. I have a lot of people in these ranking videos really hammering me about, oh, that's not the correct ranking for this. Well, there isn't a correct ranking. Opinion is opinion. It's not, how is that? Can I really say anything else? It does really annoy me, but yeah, just please kind of keep it civil. Be respectful of other people's opinions, and yeah, I'd love to know yours below. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe. Go down into the description and follow me on Twitter. That'd be awesome. And I'll see you guys in the next video.